As Ralph and Marcus on the Goodsugar podcast this week, the wildly popular Elsa Jean, also known as Sapphire Howell. We get into relationships, we get into dating, and we get into what makes you happy on this episode of the Goodsugar podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Goodsugar podcast. I am Ralph Sutton. Right there is Marcus Antebi with a scary, fancy new background that has looks like maybe somewhere in India doorway.
Hey, I'm just trying to, I don't know. I just found it on the internet. I just thought it was better than looking at paper cups in the background.
That's true. That's true. By the way, Marcus, some will say this episode is a long time coming. Why? We finally talk about relationships. For a long time now, you've been shitting on me. We're doing all this stuff, surface level stuff. Getting better, running, eating better, meditating, stuff that is just curing the symptoms, not the cause. And one of the things to look into is what I would say maybe unhealthy or non-traditional dating life. So there's a woman that was on my other podcast called the SDR Show as her, I would say, adult star alter ego, Elsa Jean, with millions of followers. She has a relationship podcast talking about dating life, and we get into my dating life, her dating life, your dating life. Her real name is Sapphire Howell, and we bring her on the show, and we get into this, Marcus. Are you happy that we're starting to at least scratch the surface?
I think you, first of all, you're mischaracterizing. I don't shit on you. I just kind of bring it up. I think you're either partly serious because you said it about 900 times. So that's one thing. And the second thing, really about the other stuff that you've done, losing weight. I don't think that's superficial. I think it has a lot of importance, and I do think a lot of those things that were out of balance for you that you've now that you're exercising and you feel more, have a better self-image. I think those are really substantial things. But I think that they really only challenge one aspect of your emotional world.
Fair.
And that having a relationship that challenges you deeper and really brings up some more character defects to the surface, as relationships will do, serves to help you to improve. I mean, you can also implode in a relationship,
right.
But you got to try something, right?
Right, I agree. By the way, what's funny is you'll hear me coughing a lot, and I apologize. I'm getting over a really bad. I think I had that RSV or whatever the fuck that's floating around. I was really having a rough time last week. But what's wild to me, and I can't believe I feel this way, because I was away for New Year's Eve with my brother. We went to a couple of Caribbean islands, and when I'm there, there's such hilly islands. It was hard to run, so I was only doing like treadmill runs, like 3 miles a day. Came back, started to run, but then I hurt my back. I ran 5 miles with my cousin, and I realized something was off with my back, and so I came home, and I couldn't run this whole past week. And it's wild to me that I'm lying in bed, pissed off and missing it. Like I was like, I got to get out there, but I wasn't healthy. So today was my first run in a week, and boy, does it make me energized and feel great to just get out there. I never thought in a million years that I would feel that way. Pretty wild.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I have to get my quota of action in every day. I mean, I must twitch if I'm relaxing when I'm not meant to be relaxing. I got to do something.
All right, Marcus, we talked to her about her enough. Here's the funny thing. First of all, she came on my old show, my other show called the SDR Show, Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll Show. We'll talk about that a little bit, where we tried to identify her feet. It did not go so well for me because I'm an idiot.
Like literally her feet. You mean literally her feet? Literally her feet.
Well, we took pictures of the feet and someone else's feet, but whatever. We'll bring her on. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
But also, this is why, because she is, I don't know if we still have this moniker, but top 1% of OnlyFans, which is pretty wild. I don't know if that's still part of your moniker. Also, what's wild is she's known to a lot of people as Elsa Jean. Her real name, Sapphire Howell. You'd think it'd be the other way around. Sapphire is much more of a porn star or adult film star name than Elsa, which is hilarious. But anyway, she was on my show, so I kind of know already. She has a podcast about relationships. She's extremely popular, not only in that world and in the online world, but hilariously, I personally have been catfished by Elsa pictures at least 10 times in my dating life, where excuse me, on one of the dating apps or dating profiles, I see a girl, pretty blonde, and we start talking, and then I search the picture. I'm like, God damn it, it's Elsa again. I got fucked. And I realized there's a whole website dedicated to that. So thank you so much for coming on. It is Sapphire Howell. Welcome to the podcast.
I feel like I always got to stand up for my first name. It is my birthstone, just so everybody knows.
Oh, wait, but it is your name, though.
It is my name, Sapphire, yes. But
Right.
it is
Well, I
my
assumed it was
birthstone,
something
so
like that.
That's why.
Yeah. I'm sure your parents said, let's not give her a great stripper name. I knew there was going to be some sort of tie-in to the birthstone.
Wait, before you make me uncomfortable, Ralph, is it acceptable? For me personally, I have no judgment, so I don't cast any aspersions. Is it acceptable to say porn star, stripper? Are those terms that are canceled in some circles, or are they just, who gives?
Do you think the word stripper is canceled?
I don't know. Come on, man. I'm just me.
Not yet.
No,
Not
I don't
yet.
think any of that.
So I think it's okay for now. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right.
All right. And also, by the way, am I right with?
Wait, okay.
Sorry.
So you're saying
Yeah, adult film
star? Okay, thank you. I want to be respectful.
Do you still
Thank
have
you.
the moniker? I know you were in Playboy also at one point, but do you have the moniker still as in the top 1% of OnlyFans?
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty wild. And did you also do some? I know OnlyFans is trying to market another side of their content to be like more mainstream. And weren't you on like a cooking channel thing?
Yeah, they actually have multiple different shows, but they do have a cooking one. It's called It's Fire. And yeah, I was on it. And you know what? It actually made my OnlyFans go up. So,
Really?
Yeah. So I always have to tell people that if you can do OnlyFans TV and you have an OnlyFans, it really makes it go up. People really watch it.
That's pretty wild. Did you cook something?
I did. I cooked a pizza and I won that round. Then the second one.
Wait. Hold on a second. Sorry. When you say cooked a pizza, does that mean you made the dough? Did you make the dough?
No, that's why I won, is because it was so easy. I mean, all I had to do was, put sauce and stuff on it. That's it.
Okay.
So
you assembled a pizza, I would say. Is a better way to put it. You didn't cook a pizza, you assembled a pizza.
Yes. And then the next round, I had to actually make chicken, and no.
Okay.
Sorry.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
well, it's a good thing you're pretty. That's the best way to put it there. So I listened to a little bit of your podcast. It's again, it's called Heartbreakers. And I'm not, it was marketed as you do it with a gay pop singer, and his name is James Maz. Am I saying that right?
Yes. You remember him, right? Or no?
Why did I meet? Oh, you're right. He came in studio with you. Right. I'm so bad with faces, but I remember it now. Yes. So you were in studio about a couple years ago, and Marcus, what we did was everybody took pictures of their feet, and then me and my co-host Jay had to guess whose feet belonged to who. The ringer was one of my staff is a very slight boy. Maybe he weighs 100 pounds, and we got him a pedicure, and they painted his toenails red. And I got every one of them wrong. I was horrible at it, really bad at it.
I think he had the prettiest feet out of everyone, too.
He did. Yeah, he did. He definitely did. So, Marcus, I know you have some questions for Sapphire. And also, I know we're going to kind of peel back on the insanity that is Ralph's dating life. So, Marcus, I'm going to put the balls in your hand now. Get it? I said balls. And
you can't
see
help
wherever you want to start this, Marcus.
Well, I would just say, first of all, I think you have a great career. I did my homework on you, and I'm always impressed by anybody that has fame. Just to say that, for whatever reason, I think you great talent. And I've never seen your adult work. So talent.
Your wife doesn't listen to this, Marcus. You could be honest.
Even if she did, what's the difference? I'm not ashamed to admit anything. I'm just saying, I feel like from what I was able to look at on your relationship podcast, I feel like, and you correct me, help me, it seems lighthearted. How deep into relationships can you go? Like, can you help a person sort of like connect like childhood issues with things that they're struggling with in a relationship? What's your depth gauge here?
Well, I can go, I feel like, pretty deep, but what I really want to do is support people in any way that I possibly can, because I feel like there's so many different podcasts that give opinions but no support. And I feel like everybody's relationship and how they grow up and childhood trauma is so different. The only real way you can heal from that is from EMDR. And, you know, I'm not a therapist or anything like that. Like, I feel like for those things, you really do need professional help. That's why I have my podcast, for more like support in every way. I've been in every kind of relationship, and I feel like that people need that.
I don't know the acronym EMDR. Can you elaborate on that? I don't know.
You know what? I actually don't know what it stands for, but it's a type of technique for therapy where you're supposed to be triggering both sides of your brain, and you could do it through tapping and like a light, and you go through your traumas, and it's supposed to actually heal the trauma from the brain. If I'm not
it's our producer.
I've done it.
Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing is a mental health treatment that involves moving your eyes a specific way for processing traumatic memories. I've never even heard of that. That's interesting. Marcus, are you aware of that?
I am aware of that, and I do think it works. I mean, it's not the only way. I think there's obviously a lot of different things. I think it's an approach. Anything that approaches the subject has the possibility of capturing someone who might not, say, open up emotionally. So I do think that there's alternative approaches, because it's deep. Getting into relationships, obviously, we're triggered after the romance wears off. We're going to have some pretty dramatic triggers, and we have to become aware and committed to working on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, am I right, Sapphire? When you were on, there was some sort of public breakup or something you had. Am I crazy? Or
yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that. I just when you brought up the relationship thing just now, that just popped in my head. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I try to be like such a big advocate on just support, because I feel like people, when they're in abusive or traumatic relationships, they don't have much emotional support, and I think that is sometimes really the foundation of getting out of things like that.
Was that the catalyst for the podcast because of the relationship, or?
No, honestly, because I had the podcast before, but it's because I've been married so many times. I wanted to, share the struggles.
How many times have you been married?
You said you were married 3 times?
Yes. And then I wanted to share the struggle and then also share my opinion. And then people started asking questions. It really was just a talking thing that me and my co-host did on Twitter Space.
Mm-hmm.
And then people wanted a podcast, actually. And then they wanted to ask questions. Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it's a great format, especially now in the world that we live in, where, you don't have to be backed by a giant media corporation to, become famous in your own right. I think you have to be an expert to talk about expert things, like, if you're really trying to put terminology together. But if you're talking from your experience and your own, wisdom, then it doesn't matter what you're talking about.
Can I ask, of your 3 marriages, which one how long was the longest?
A year.
A year. And how long was the shortest?
Yes. 2 weeks.
Wow. Cool.
Yes.
That doesn't count.
Yes.
That doesn't count.
It doesn't count. It doesn't count.
You know what? You're young, right? You're very young. I'm not going to say your age. 27.
Oh, okay.
You know what? It's okay. You have a few of those things. It's so easy to get married these days.
And
Just
divorced.
I think if it was harder to get divorced, people probably wouldn't get so married so quickly. But,
it is harder.
Yeah. All right. So here's the question, Marcus.
All right. I'll introduce Ralph's problem, because Ralph's.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Okay,
let's delve into Ralph's psychosis.
So like Ralph said, I know Ralph since before we were born, and he has a twin brother who I was friendlier with in our youth. Ralph is a brilliant broadcaster. He was around in the old days. He was working at Stringfellows.
Yeah.
I went and I saw him doing his night on the microphone, and he would wrangle 3 stages at once. He just had the perfect voice. He remembered everybody's name. He carried 10,000 CDs with him to work every day.
Oh, it was the worst.
Yeah. Ralph has an impossibly high set of standards for the type of woman he'd be involved with. And I think from observing him, no judgment, when he's in a relationship, the threshold reminds me of a few of my successful male friends. Their threshold for toleration of frustration within the relationships they're very, very fickle. Like they don't really, they can't. First sign of troubles, red flags. First sign of humanness is usually like, the turbulence just breaks it all apart. So, with that being said, the last 3 years, Ralph he lost 100 pounds. He's running 600 miles a week.
30 miles a week.
Just a really different person. He started meditating. We've had lots of meditation people on the shows, really doing positive self-help stuff. The one area where it's quite flat for us is we're not even getting candidates for him to struggle in a relationship with. And I would say this is probably more judgmental. I still think his appetite for women is still closer to being like an 18-year-old as opposed to...
I disagree, but whatever. I'm not going to... I would say that... Let me justify myself for a second, and then Sapphire could shit all over me. I don't care, but here we go. So, number one, don't you want to be attracted to the person that you're dating? I don't get that part at all. Like, you should... If you don't feel that it's attraction and your heart is what it is, your eyes, your brain, it works how it is, you have to go after someone you're physically attracted to, or else you're starting off already on the wrong foot. That's number one. Number two, red flags are there for a reason. If you see someone and you're like, oh, that's going to be a problem for me later on, isn't it better to bail than waste 3 months or 6 months if you know, like, for instance, not to get political, but if somebody is super pro-life, I'm probably not going to get along with them. So if I see that, I should fucking bail, in my opinion. Or super religious. I know I'm not going to get along with them. So I take those as red flags. Anyway, that's my side. Sapphire shit all over me.
Well, I was going to ask what the red flags are, and that's just, I think, personality differences, not necessarily red flags. If you're, you know what I mean? If you're talking about politics and stuff. But another thing is I was going to ask, have you ever been attracted to someone not off of their looks, like ever, or been attracted to someone because of something that has nothing to do with their looks, like their career, or it's only been straight 18-year-olds?
18-year-olds, God no.
Or,
I don't know. That's what what I would say is.
I'm sorry. I was exaggerating when he cut me off.
Yeah, 18 is so old. 18 is so old. Disgusting. I'm kidding. I would say that there are women that I've gotten more attracted to when I enjoy their company, where I could look at them like, oh, that girl's hot, and we start dating, and then I get along with them more, and I find them even more attractive because we get along. But I have never been, I don't think it's ever happened where I saw a girl, I'm like, I'm not attracted to her, but wow, look at her stock portfolio. Now she's awesome. That's never happened. No. So I need to start with some sort of basis of attraction. Then it could either get stronger or weaker based on getting to know them.
So what is your favorite attraction? Physical attraction?
Height's a big one because I am 6'6", 6'5".
So you want someone tall?
I do like tall for sure.
Okay.
That's probably, although I have dated shorter women in my life, I find my brain does gravitate more towards taller women. And I think it's just because,
That's easy. Finding someone tall is easy, right?
Right. I would think it's not. Well, that's actually not true because I think, what is it? Like less than 1% of women are over 5'8" or something like that. Please, less than 1%.
Well, I think maybe, I don't know what you're considering tall, but I get what you're saying now. So you want someone like 5'10", 5'8".
I mean, ideally, because I was also, as someone who is almost 6'6", if I go out with a girl that's 5'2", I feel like it looks like I'm dining with my child,
Okay.
So it just feels weird, and that never happens when the girl's tall. No one ever says, is that your daughter? But when I'm with someone that's 5'1", 5'2", they look like my daughter.
Have you ever thought about using a matchmaker, like a legit matchmaker?
What I don't like about matchmakers is they charge a fucking fortune, and it's not predicated on success. If it was predicated on success, I would have no problem spending the money. But all of them want money regardless of whether or not you're even attracted to the person they set you up with. And I think that's crazy.
Okay. All right. So no matchmaking, because my whole thing is if you're not living the same lifestyle as you used to live, of course you're not going to be attracting and finding the girls that you used to be with, right?
Right.
So that would be like an easy fix, or like something where, you could just say no or yes, and You know what I mean? Because going out and actually searching for someone in environments that you're no longer in is 10 times harder. And also, now that you're living more healthy, you're going to be more turned off by certain people, even if they're attracted.
Right, for sure. Nothing is less attractive to me than a girl that's shit-faced drunk, you know?
Yeah, unstable, and you need,
And also, I've aged out of going to nightclubs or bars to go meet someone. I never do that because at my age, I'm 54. I'm not going to a fucking bar. It's ridiculous.
What? You don't have any other ways that you want to meet someone. You have to meet them face to face, or you will go,
I've met
on Raya or
I don't own an iPhone, so I have no Raya, but I do. Like, I've met, the last few dates I've been on is through Instagram. If I meet someone on Instagram, I'm fine with that. I've done that. That's fine.
That's why my third suggestion was going to be Instagram, like sliding in someone's DMs.
When I had a blue check before you could buy a blue check, and you had to just get one if they deemed you worthy. When I had that, boy, did that work for meeting someone, because now anybody could buy a blue check. But anyway, Marcus, you look like you're looking at me with disgust.
No, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that would be a status.
It used to be. Yeah, that was my post. I said I'm old enough to remember when a blue check actually meant something.
What age do you like dating? You said
16
you were 15
to 19. No, I'm kidding. Because I'm 54, I would say realistically between 27 and 35 is where I find myself more attracted to. Anything under 26, 27, they look too young for me. Not that I'm not attracted, but it just looks ridiculous, And how much commonality are we really going to have, if she's 25? It's just not going to happen.
Oh, you think you'd have the commonality with someone who's 30?
30, 35. Sure. I definitely have.
I was just going to say.
No, go ahead. You go. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, what are you looking for at your age? Because that is really young. Obviously,
Thank
you know that.
I know, thank you.
And it still is, even 30s is still very, very young. So depending on what you're seeking in a relationship, that just causes difficulties right there.
Of course, I agree. But again, you're attracted to what you're attracted to. I'm not.
Well, that's not an answer.
But I would not, let me put it this way. I would not, like, if I found a girl attractive and then found out she was 45, I wouldn't go, oh God, no. I would still go on that date.
So then why do you pick that age range if you would still go on?
I don't open on my DMs, hi, how old are you? That's not how I start.
Maybe you should.
That's weird.
Well, you said red flags. The red flags are there on the first date, my friend. I mean, especially
if a 25-year-old girl's going out with a 54-year-old, something's wrong.
And it's not just that. It's not. We're not judging in a disparaging way. It's for the purpose of understanding something.
Excuse me.
There's life lessons, there's maturity, there's intensity. There's intensity itself could make somebody too young. The intensity of what you might be thinking about in terms of mortality and, settling down, if that's something a younger person might not be able to handle, looking into the abyss with you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah.
Are you looking for someone like to settle down, marry, have kids?
I don't know if I believe so much in the ideology of marriage, but I'm not against being monogamous. I just don't know. I think marriage itself is just a little bit weird where it starts from, where you take my name and someone used to pay to take you off my hands. And I get as a Jewish person, I get the tax benefits, but I just think in general, it does seem like an antiquated ideology that men are put above women in an odd. It's just odd to me personally, and it's a Western ideology. It comes from religion. It's not. It's weird to me. It is. We're just weird.
It does not come from religion.
It definitely does.
It does not. Tribal life and indigenous cultures had marriages for 180,000 years.
Yeah, but they also had polygamy. They also had matriarchal societies. It was very different.
They had other
it's
things.
Not apples to apples.
But I'm just making it clear that it's not owned by religion.
The current inception of it, where you take the last name, where there's certain things that are expected of it, the ritualization of the ring, which was created by De Beers. It's
the circumcision.
All that. It is weird.
Are
That's
you
all.
approaching relationships by saying like you're saying all these things like you don't believe in marriage, and like are you
I
telling
wouldn't
people that, or do you
I wouldn't open with that. You know, I would.
but you
I
do
really.
tell people
I would.
that
I don't lie and anytime I'm dating someone, I would never lie about my age, lie about my. I would never do that. It's just way easier to be honest.
yeah, because you're also picking an age group too where that's what they really want. Like females, honestly, from 25 to 35, they really are searching kind of for someone to get married and live that like very much that type of lifestyle. Because you just have to think about how women think and then how you think. It's just so separate,
Mhm.
and you're also so at the extreme too. You know what I mean? Like not to try
In
to call
age,
you out,
I
but
get what you're saying.
in age, and also maybe like the way you're thinking too, like it's hard to even like break that down to someone that you think it's because of these reasons that you're against it, and it's hard also for that age group to be mature enough to process
Right. But
your
I would say
thought
this
on
also, like, if I met the girl of my dreams and everything's amazing and she really wants to get married, I'm not going to say no. I'm not an
Yeah.
asshole. You know, I'm not that dug in to my belief system that I'm like, no,
Okay,
this way.
that's an important caveat that you're putting in there. That's promising.
But certain things are certain things to me are deal breakers. I don't get super religious people. I think I'd have a very hard time being serious with someone that's super religious. I just
It'd be
don't
really
think I
hard
could do
to
it.
find a hot Amish girl too.
Don't knock it. You never see Banshee? It's a great TV show.
Guys-
I really,
you guys know I grew up, my family's Amish and
Yeah.
right? Is that what
Yeah, I
I,
remember
didn't,
that.
I saw that you came from a religious background. You know, I
Yeah.
really love this conversation, and I think you're brilliant. And I, if it's okay and you're comfortable, can I dive a little bit into your relationships just so I understand you better?
Yeah.
Okay, so, what are your thoughts? I hear a lot of people saying that they don't think it's natural for humans to be monogamous. What are your thoughts on that?
I disagree with it, and I don't really have any like science behind it. I just feel like if you're in love, then you only want to be with that person. I don't think it's true love unless you only want to be with them, unless you're only attracted to them. I think that people can notice that other people are pretty and maybe attractive, but to want it, like to desire people sexually outside of who you're with, I just disagree.
Does your career make it difficult for you to like find someone who's really square and has that kind of value? Is it too difficult of someone to imagine monogamous relationship with you?
I think because I'm no longer actively shooting, I actually haven't had too much of an issue unless they're just like doing really good hiding it, which is I think that would happen to me no matter what. When I was actively shooting, of course, yes. I mean, I think it's difficult no matter what. I think social media has really made people think that they can be with, I think everybody thinks they're a 10 out of 10. And I think that
I think
everybody
I'm a 5.5
thinks
at best.
I think like everybody just thinks they can cheat in general, you know? So yeah.
You know, it's funny. I briefly dated at the time, a pretty well-known porn star. This is going back a few years.
Who?
And it was, I don't know if I want to say it on the air.
Divine.
Okay.
Yeah, but
He was very in love with Divine.
out of respect to her, I don't think I want to say it on the air, but
Okay.
Anybody could do that. Anybody could just do what you did.
but I'm not lying. I can tell you off air.
I was married to a porn star.
In fact, by the way, if you Google my name and who he was dating, her name comes up.
Okay.
But
what if you say her name and we bleep it out just so we could hear it?
You're not going to. It's prior to Elsa's career. It's years ago. It's 15, 20 years ago. But anyway.
Oh, okay.
It was weird. We'd be out to dinner and guys would come up and just say to her, I just got to tell you, I'm such a fan of your work. And it was weird. It's like, it's basically saying, hey, I was masturbating to you earlier today. It's a weird thing that, and I'm sure that happens to you all the time, that guys will just come up and do that while we were on a date. It just felt, it was more funny to me. Like we joke about it afterwards, but it was that was my one, we dated for like, I don't know, 6 months or something, but it was just kind of an interesting experience in that world.
I think sometimes I'm like, why are they telling me this right now? Like, there's been times where my mom's been with me and I'm like, you just don't need to tell me that you're a fan right now.
Disgusting,
it is weird,
self-centered.
And also, by the way, Marcus, one other thing that I'll shut up was that when my other podcast, SDR, was nominated at AVN's last year, which is the Adult Video Network Awards, and they just had him this year, but I didn't go this year. But when I went, I was like, for a second, it took me a second to figure out why is there's never this in any other forum, but the line for the bathroom for men was extremely long, and the line for the women didn't exist. I'm like, oh, they're going in there to masturbate. That's crazy. And that's what they do.
All right.
Pretty wild. You're welcome.
I appreciate that. I was talking about you and your history. I'm not like a therapist or anything like that. I just have curiosities. There's two questions I would ask you, and if they don't come out right, we can just cut it out. I'm not trying to get under your skin or anything like that, but do you find at any aspect of your chosen career, or whatever it is, that you're obviously you're putting sex up in the front as something? Do you find that at all to change how you think about your own personal sexuality and the types of things that you want out of a relationship?
Do you mean like what I've put out? Does that? I feel like you didn't just ask like the actual question that you wanted. I don't know. Are you being your authentic self when you're in all these different channels and forums? Like you're obviously coming off as a sexy person who's very overt and comfortable with their sexuality. Is that the real you, or in your house, are you more childlike? Are you more innocent, more caring? Just the qualities that might be overlooked by most men to be endearing. So I've always been a very openly just sexual person, always. I feel like I really struggled with being my authentic, genuine self. I actually was in therapy a long time trying to figure out who my genuine self was and not, when it came to like the two worlds, because they do mix, you know what I mean? So I never portrayed or wanted to portray myself. I really felt like that at the time, but there was a while where I was like, okay, this doesn't really feel like me. And I'm actually more of a dominant person. And because I was so young an adult, I was always played as very innocent, and I don't feel like that at all. I think it actually shocks men when they realize how like dominant and how strong my personality really is.
By the way, it was Adriana Chechik was on SDR, and I really love this line. She said, "You get into porn to get out of porn." Do you believe that as well?
Yeah, I think for me, my head was to get in and get out, absolutely, and do what I need to do. I think some people are different. Some people see it as like a long-term thing. I just wouldn't. I think that you should just get in and get out.
That's also
I think the only thing safe is for you. You have to date a blind person who cannot possibly be allured in by the luckiness of the geometry of your face. I mean, how when you are you, if I may ask again, are you currently in a relationship?
I am not. I'm super single.
Single. Okay.
If you listen to the last 3 episodes of our podcast, it's pretty obvious that you're single.
You know what? Okay.
Some guy dropped the ball, right? You said like there was some guy that got very close to finally dating you, and you said he dropped the ball. I saw that in one of the episodes. Was maybe a few weeks ago.
I'm always going out on dates, and I'm always I'm always open to dating, and I've definitely dated within the last year, but not an actual boyfriend.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to be your relationship coach. I think that's one of my my goals for 2000.
I want to try it.
I think it. Listen, Ralph and I.
Because it works so well for me, Marcus. Come on now. What's happening?
It's not that I can't. You're in your situation, Ralph. I would tell you that, pray for love to come and knock you over the head, so that all of your preconceived notions, all your judgments, all your criteria just get thrown out the window. Just you slip on a banana peel and there she is, and you can't escape the gravity of it. I pray for that moment for you.
Thank you.
and it better come soon because.
And also, I mean, look, in the interest of full disclosure to you, Marcus, you've also had three. I know it's 3 marriages, but 3 serious relationships, right? 2 marriages, is that right?
I've had a lot of serious relationships. I have children now
with 3 different
women. I'm married for many years to my wife Teresa, who I'm in love with, and it's a sober, awake relationship, and it's a work in progress. I mean, relationships are the most difficult
but also,
thing
I
in the
could
world
say
to do.
Perhaps you are what one might define as a serial monogamist, someone that was always. I mean, I know your whole life always relationship. I don't even remember you being single. So I've
been single. I had, for me, it's really easy. I mean, when the times that I was single, I would try to date very, because I'm in recovery. I'm sober 38 years, right? So the second recovery I got into was when I was around 15 years sober, which was sex addiction recovery, which is very common in 12-step recovery to jump around in addictions, and just really understanding my behavior, not just around sex, but around intimacy, that it was dysfunctional because of my childhood background, my anxieties. And I started to really uncover the patterns, and for me, I do think it's very natural for the higher self to want monogamy. We could always compare the higher self with the animal self. The animal self is just that, right? We want to do things without any regard to what the impact may be. But, I do think I'm much better at talking about relationships than I am at having them, like anyone. Right. We're all human. You can criticize. There's a million people. Dr. Harville Hendricks was one of the great relationship book guys. He wrote a book called Finding the Love You Want, and another one called Keeping the Love You Find. And he had an incredible science around relationships, and his wife wrote the forward, and guess what? They're divorced now.
The third one was called Screw That Bitch.
Right? Yes, that's right. So you know what? Anybody who just acts like they've applied all the skills on themselves is full of shit. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's a work in progress.
I get you. I couldn't agree more with that. So I mean,
and you're 27. I think it takes longer in the modern world for a person to really be ready to settle down. I would say the biggest obstacle is you shouldn't trust the men who want to date you.
Mm-hmm.
You should almost have to convince somebody that you're going to be with, that you're safe.
But also, by the way, the biggest problem for me is social media has destroyed dating, because I would pay money, Sapphire, to just read your DMs one day. It's probably insane.
I know.
So
I know. And you know what? It's also the married men that constantly are in there. It's just sick.
It's wild, and that wasn't
it's dysfunction.
Factor.
It's part of it's dysfunction that is still not a popular subject.
And by the way, let me say this: I apologize for my 47 DMs to you last month. No, I'm kidding. I never did.
No, it's not the mysteries. First of all, the mysteries of sex addiction, contrary to what people believe, is sex addiction isn't just somebody who has to have sex all the time. There's addiction on people who are fasting from sex too. There can be the same compulsive behavior. And the idea is that any destructive behavior that you're doing within relationships and dating that you can't stop doing, that's just a pattern. That is the definition of addiction. So it is something that's very important to look at, especially if you suffer a lot in relationships.
And also, though, I would say my argument on that is that also if it's something that is not healthy for you, like you could say, if the process that you're doing is causing you negativity, then it has an addiction effect. I feel if it's something that's positive, like if you've decided to be abstain from sex for any period of time because you want to not think about that could be a positive thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be a negative addictive thing. I want to ask you one other question, and then we don't have all the time in the world. Plus, I feel like I'm going to cough and sneeze my brains out in a second because I'm still getting over a cold. But I don't even know if this still exists, so we can cut this out. But it was a wild thing that was pitched to me about you 6 months ago called Sugar World. Is an AI dating website. Is that still going on?
Yes, and they haven't released the launch date yet, but I did all the scans and everything, and AI has really done it. They've
Marcus,
made it look
what it is
so
they
real.
They ask her questions. They get her scanned in, and then you get to go on virtual dates with various people in the adult entertainment industry on some sort of VR or online experience. The way I pitched it, by the way, which I got shot down, I thought it was funny, where Jay and I, my co-host on my other show, we're going to go on these AI dates with two different porn stars, and then we were going to put together highlight reels and see who did a better job on the date. But it never happened. I don't know. I thought it was a funny idea, but it didn't happen.
You can maybe still do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it'd be a funny. I would only do it if they were getting behind the, promoting it. They had to be a sponsor on the show. They didn't want to do it. But anyway, Marcus, any last questions before we let Sapphire go?
No, I think it's been great. I'm really excited to talk to you about this kind of stuff. I think you're great.
Are you really going to be my relationship coach?
I'll tell you what. I'll give you your first test. It's a 6-month test. Okay. The first thing is stop fishing in polluted waters. I don't know anything about you. Just make sure that where you go to meet people is pure. Okay. The second thing is come to the understanding that there is no such thing as love at first sight, contrary to fiction. There's intense attraction, and don't mistake intensity for intimacy. The next thing is I think that you have to go for the longest possible period of time without being sexually intimate, because if you're really, really, really attracted to somebody and all the chemistry is right and there's no red flags and you have sex, it's almost too late at that point, because if there's red flags that come after that, it's really hard to get out of the whirlpool. And so it's also, I think it's really important to realize that finding a long-term relationship is also about who you reject over the next year of your life, because that shows your progress and your maturity. Is that you're saying, hey, this guy was, or female, whatever you did, this person was extremely attractive. They had, they love this about them. I love that. But after like 2 months, I just found out like they were just emotionally impossible to communicate with, or they didn't resolve conflict. It takes time to get to that, and then say, okay, I've got to get out of that because it's not going to be what I want. That's a year process, a 1 year process.
You went from 6 months to a year?
I don't know.
I'm already kind of doing some of the things. So I think that another 6 months actually would do a lot of good for me. Seriously.
And then also you have to have a committee of people you trust, maybe 4 or 5 statesmen, elder people that you ready? You're not allowed to get married until you get everyone's permission you have like a tribal committee. Council, and you say, this is the one I want to marry. And
it's going to be a hard one.
Yeah.
Well,
are you looking to get married for a 4th time?
I think I only want to be married. I'm very I think that's just I just think it should be marriage. Like,
what age group are you looking for?
I don't want to date over 35, and I know a lot of people are going to be angry at me for that.
No,
but
okay.
Why would they be angry with you? That seems right.
I don't know. Yeah,
it's crazy fans. Who gives a fuck? It's her and where.
No, but I'm saying, but it's not like if she would have said I only want to date over 70, that would be weird. But 35, she's 27. That seems normal.
Are
you where are you based out of?
Los Angeles.
Is there a good field, a good playing field out there of single people in what you like?
No, but I'm also not searching. I'm not at a point where I'd be actively looking for anybody. So I'm not really going, I'm not out looking to see who's there available.
I hate to say this. I'm just going to say, I feel like the guy you're going to fall in love with is almost at first going to look at you and go, she's hot, but I'm staying away from that.
He has to be like that. Yeah. Otherwise it's not going to work.
Oh, okay. I get it.
All right, Marcus, we're going to wrap it up now. You can follow her at Elsa Jean Official on Instagram. The podcast is called Heartbreakers. It's an easy listen because it's like 18 minutes long. So you could go through 3 of them in an hour pretty easily. Is there anything else you want to plug before we go around the room and plug our stuff?
Just my podcast on every platform you get a podcast, Heartbreakers, and the Sugar World that's coming out. I also have a Elsa Jean app coming out. So
that's cool.
If you just get on my Instagram, honestly, I'm always advertising whatever I'm having
Fair enough.
go on, you know.
Fair enough. Follow me over at I Am Ralph Sutton, my other podcast on health and wellness. My other podcast is not on health and wellness, that's this one. My other podcast is called The SDR Show, Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll Show. Elsa has been on that. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe. I could be wrong on that.
I think just a year ago.
A year ago. And you could see
March.
how bad I am at guessing whose feet is whose. And then we have a couple of good episodes. Hold on. I want to look real quick. I'm sorry, Marcus. Let me just do this really quickly. Because I know we have a couple of big guests coming up. And here we go. The Cranberries are coming on. Pink Floyd's son, Harry Waters, is coming on. A couple of other, and the drummer from the Screaming Trees and Mad Season, which was with Lane Staley from Alice in Chains. Great episodes all coming up. And Goodsugar, the store, is on 3rd Avenue and 69th Street. Big, giant yellow sign. No single-use plastics. Come and eat a vegan meal and do something nice for the environment. Marcus, anything else you want to plug? Oh, and at I Love Goodsugar is the Instagram. Yes, Marcus?
I don't have anything to plug. I'm just I'm out here all by myself.
All right, sounds exciting. We'll see everyone next time on the Goodsugar Podcast.